The last year has not been the best for competitive Pokemon play, however things are looking up. With collecting being at an all-time high and the advent of huge online tournaments, never has there been a better time to get into the Pokemon trading card game. But where to start? Enter Sealed Only Pokémon. Like many before me, such as Nim, Rebs, Fat Moose, and Let's Play Pokemon, I'm diving into a unique and fun trading card challenge. On a budget of £30 an episode, I'll be trying to build a competitive Pokemon deck to take on the PTCGO ladder and battle our way through online tournaments. The catch? I can only use sealed official products to build my deck. That means no trading, no buying singles, and no easy way out. So, with that in mind, let's crack some packs. 7 episodes down and I'm feeling good. If you compare our deck from episode 1 to now, it's unrecognisable. We've added so much stuff to that original theme deck with things like the Trainer's Toolkit, the Blastoise theme deck, and even the Zacian V League Battle deck last episode. And with our second place finish last week in the team challenge, we've found ourselves a little bit extra to spend here. And I have to admit, since the start of this series I've spent far too much time on eBay, Card Market and the like, trying to find some bargains. And I think I've done it. I think I've finally found something that's worthy of this extra special episode. Thanks to our underspend in episode 6, we come in at £39.50, but I'm going to be straight up here and say I actually overspent, and I'll take the extra budget out of next episode. Back to regular spending soon, I promise. But for this week, I blew a staggering £55 on this one product. Now I did hum and ha over whether or not this was going too far, but we have a team challenge to win, damn it! So, without further ado, this week we will be opening the Blastoise GX Premium Collection. That's right, we're going all in on Blastoise. There are a few other older packs in here that will give us a good chance at some more goodies, but it's all about this guy. Right. Now, I love Inteleon, I really do, and by no means have we given up on the VMAX stream, but for quick, reliable pulls, it's got to be Blastoise. This right here is the missing ingredients we needed to qualify for our local team challenge. We've already proven that our deck can beat Centre Scorch, it can beat Pikarom, it apparently can't beat Inteleon in the mirror, but we just needed a boss monster, just an absolute beast, and Blastoise GX is going to be that for us. It has the reduced damage taken like Dubwool, and it pumps out an absolute ton of water damage, even more than Inteleon was doing. It does have the downside of being a stage 2, but I think we've already proven that with Rare Candy, with Jirachi Oranguru, we can pull off reaching a stage 2, and I'm not too worried about that. We might just bump up numbers here and there where we need it. But can we also just take a moment to appreciate the foiling on these? It's absolutely beautiful. I didn't know these were holographic when I bought this product. It is a lovely surprise. We do also have 2 Unbroken Bonds packs, and a bunch of rotated packs I'm probably not going to open right now. Let me know in the comments if you think we should open these in another episode, but I'm probably just going to put these aside for now and save on the length of the video. But we do have these to bust open. However, honestly, I think this is enough to win us Team Challenge this week. So let's see what extra goodies we can get. Right, so just did a quick check to see what's actually in Unbroken Bonds that we need, and there's not a whole lot. The biggest and best thing we could pull from here is probably another Blastoise GX. So let's not pretend that we're searching for anything else, and let's try and find ourselves more tortoises. I think we opened some Unbroken Bonds in episode 3 when we were looking for, well, when we were opening the Trainer's Toolkit. And I don't remember getting anything good. Oh, good start. I think there's maybe a couple of supports in here we could use. Greens could be handy early on. A few other things I'm sure, but let's see what we got. Poliwag, Rhyhorn, Growlithe, Cubone, Riolu, Grass, Metal Barrier. I guess there's no important rare here, so we'll just do this. Tentacruel, Ultra Forest, the Evolution Spray, Marowak. Need some quick packs today. Quick packs. I think I remember Unbroken Bonds more fondly than it was. Like, it's not like it's a bad set. It's a good set. I mean, I'm not going to say it's not a good set, but for what we're doing, it's not it. That looks like cool coughing. Very cool coughing. Diglett, Zubat, Jigglypuff. Like I said before, it doesn't really matter what we get from these packs. We've already got what we need to win. I love this Porygon. Dodrio, Gliscor, and do we have anything? Oh! Hey, a Whimsicott! Okay, nothing, but hey, a Whimsicott's Great Ball. Let's build this deck. A rather simple deck tech for us this week. We're obviously adding in the Blastoise GX, the additional Squirtle, and we're going to swap out our one copy of Wartortle for the new foil Wartortle because, well, bling. To help with this, we're also bumping our rare candy count up to 3 from 2. Obviously this means we had to make a few cuts, all of which felt a little bit bad, and I will have to see how they perform. Firstly, we dropped down to just the one Inteleon V, and I think this is the tipping point, guys. In my head, we have always been a sealed only Inteleon, but I think we finally have to accept that we're currently Blastoise sealed only. And while it's a sad change, it's also a necessary one if we're going to qualify this week. I still want at least one of the Vs, but until we get the VMAX, there's just more useful cards that we can use that were added this week. Our second cut I feel slightly better about, but also worry how its impact might be felt. We're going down to just one Dedenne, and this is because we have limited bench space as it is, and we've got quite a healthy supporter lineup, so I don't think it will negatively affect us too much, but only time will tell with this one. And lastly, we're removing Reset Stamp. There's no argument this is a great card, but I haven't been utilising it well enough, so maybe for now I'm just going to bench it and we can come back to this a little bit later once I feel like I'm missing it. Moving into this week's games, I kind of messed up my schedule a bit, which means that this video is going to take a lot longer to get out, and it also means that I'll have played both our last Team Challenge qualifiers for the series. So because of this, we've played a total of 5 matches over 2 weeks, and I've picked one game from each match to highlight here in this episode. The first 2 being from Qualifier 3, and the last 3 matches from Qualifier 4. So, without further ado, let's go win some games. Match 1 was against our friendly neighbourhood Centiskorch player, who, fed up with the type disadvantage, decided to bust out Pikarom this week. Was I offended? Maybe. Was I a little bit flattered? Definitely. He started off without a Bolton, which I was very happy to see, and our start, while not explosive, did set us up well for this slower start. Not slower for Pikarom anyway. This ultimately paid off with our sheep tanking a nice hit for us, and a research into lots of goodies. A bit of searching and drawing eventually saw us with a handful of energy, potentially ready to GX it all onto our bench next turn. As we would assume, our Jirachi got KO'd, but instead of promoting Blastoise GX, I sent up Dubwool V. I think I was trying to play around Tagbolt GX, but honestly I think I was just being overly cautious, and I should have gone into Blastoise here. This however was just the beginning of my mistakes, which included attaching to Blastoise instead of Dubwool, which effectively made him dead in the water. I then threw away my hand and benched out Lightning Weak Inteleon V. It's just one misplay after another this turn, unfortunately. We pass and Pikarom manages to fix his empty hand with the radar into Dedenne and a slew of new goodies, of which included the boss to bring up our Blastoise after all, and Dubwool V falls to the GX snipe. We put the sheep immediately back in our deck with Rod, and get kind of lucky pulling it off the top with Marnie. That luck continued with a 3 water powerful Squall giving us exactly the energy we needed to KO the Mewtwo and Mew. Despite the numerous misplays, the high roll on Blastoise can really bring us back from some of the worst situations. A simple Boltund immediately puts the pressure back on, with 5 energy on board he makes quick work of our already weakened Blastoise GX, leaving it all down to Dubwool V once again. We go digging with Marnie, and with a much smaller deck by this point of the game, we easily power up Dubwool in one turn, bringing the game down to 1 prize apiece. However, this is where our earlier misplays really come back to haunt us one last time. Quick ball Eldegoss into boss's orders means the Inteleon we foolishly benched becomes the liability that loses us the game, when Pikarom swings in for weakness and takes the match 2-0. Game 2 is an interesting one against our first Blacephalon, and I think it's an important game for us to watch to really highlight how I need to keep on my toes for unusual circumstances. Our opponent really bricks his hand early on, and where I'm just not used to having such a strong a start, I whiffed the turn 2 KO here when we could have used the Quick Ball and Pokémon to search out Wartortle, net the Jirachi, and donk the Blacephalon for weakness. Luckily we're given another chance as his next turn is attack and pass, and I was a little thrown as I wasn't expecting such a bad turn twice in a row, and I scrambled a little bit on the start of my turn. Again, I missed the simple attach and retreat on Jirachi, instead researching and thankfully getting the net to realise that I have Wartortle for game. It's a quick match to watch here, but there's a lot to get through this episode and I thought this was quite an interesting watch nonetheless. With that win over Blacephalon comes the end of the first week team challenge games that we have. There was only 2 this time round due to someone dropping out, and as you can tell we didn't qualify. That honour went to the Pikarom player. But our last qualifier weekend started up well against a Firebox Mew 3 variant. We only just won the first game in the best of 3, with Mew and Mewtwo proving to be a tough mountain to climb. We got off to a relatively slow start and decided to dig for as many resources as we could find with research. However, we didn't really find any of the Pokemon or search we were hoping for, but decided to go ahead and put pressure on the 3-prize Reshazard anyway, hitting for that lovely weakness. With Reshazard now in range for our Aqua Bullet, I shifted my focus onto Mewtwo and Mew, especially after a simple welder for 1 and pass from our opponent. They used Cherish Ball to search out Naganadel, which kind of threw me off as I haven't seen that card in quite some time. The Stamp, Dedenne and Giant Hearth all lead to quite a decent turn for our opponent that ends in a simple switch and massive bloom from the Mew 3. Coming back to us with our new hand, I realise that things are looking quite decent, and we get Blastoise GX in play. I would have rathered the baby Blastoise out first, but I'll take what I can get. Plus we pivot Jirachi into the active position in favour of Inteleon, leaving our lizard a little bit safer on the bench. Research doesn't find much, but we can accelerate a lot of energy next turn if we want, and are likely to be using only Jirachi this turn. A second Mewtwo and Mew on our opponent's bench gets powered up with Welder, and I learn exactly what the Naganadel in the deck is for. While having a quick look through the discard for all the tools Mew has to play with, our poor Inteleon gets sniped for 170 with a Venom Shot, meaning we didn't quite save him after all, unfortunately. We do use the rod to throw Inteleon back in the deck with some water, as I think they're going to be quite useful in this match anyway. But I then take a gamble with Jirachi, rather than taking the Evo Essence for a guaranteed Blastoise, and decide to take the Great Ball and dig for the Dedenne. Unfortunately the play comes up short and we have to settle for another Squirtle instead, which isn't ideal, and pass the turn back. Only for Jirachi to be immediately and brutally KO'd, so we throw up the ballooned monkey instead. We rip a Quick Ball with a Primate Wisdom, only to realise how badly we've messed up, as the Dedenne is in the prizes, not our deck. So instead we decide to dig with Jirachi, considering we, hopefully, stranded a Reshazard in the active for a turn or 2. Our gambit pays off as we see an attachment to active and pass, which makes me feel like I've got at least 2 turns before he can really do anything else. So we go all in on trying to get ourselves a Blastoise out to power up our whole bench. We manage to end our turn with 7 energy on board and just needing a way to get Jirachi out of the active next turn. I do however forget the simple fact that with 80 damage on it, Reshazard can easily take out our Jirachi for 2 energy, which does solve one of our problems, but leaves the opponent with only 2 prize cards left. I promote Baby Blastoise due to his 1 prize status, and get one last powerful Squall in before taking down the Reshazard, and likely sacrificing Blastoise in turn. Mewtwo and Mew gets promoted, and I sit waiting to see if our opponent has Boss and a way to KO our Blastoise GX. But as soon as he swings into our active, the game becomes ours, using 7 energy to hit for 420 damage, easily taking out the tag team Pokemon and the game. Hot off the heels of the Mew 3 Firebox, pun intended, we came face to face with old school Reshazard, and I was feeling pretty confident thanks to the type advantage. We had quite a strong start, being able to use our Inteleon V for early pressure and beginning to build our board towards a Blastoise on the bench. Our opponent didn't seem to be putting on any early game pressure, only proving to be mildly annoying when they gussed up our Oranguru to the active. A bit of a heal and more 3-prize fire fodder for our Inteleon was all looking positive until a rather explosive GX saw the benched Reshizard almost ready to attack next turn. Our follow-up turn saw us only finding Dubwool V with our ball search and no way to get the Blastoise out, so I attached to Inteleon and hoped we didn't see a boss appear. The welder meant that we didn't have to worry about boss, but did show that we had 2 very scary tag team Pokemon to worry about instead. Knowing that Rod and Blastoise was still in my deck, I decided to promote Inteleon and swing for the weakness damage anyway, which would also leave Reshizard in range for our Squirtle next turn. As expected, Inteleon falls and we promote Jirachi to try and find something like research on Marnie. As luck would have it, the Professor graced us with her presence, as did a Scoop Up Net allowing us to promote Squirtle for the single greatest KO of the series, as Squirtle booped Reshizard for 10 damage and took 3 prizes. I think afraid of the Blastoise on my turn, our opponent actually hard retreats his next 3-prizer in favour of Volcanion, and begins to power up both Pokemon. We promote Jirachi and evolve up to our Blastoise GX, but don't currently have much else going on. I'm mining to get more options and in the process reduce the monstrously huge hand our opponent was holding. We both have a few really slow turns where I fail to pull ahead and our opponent shows to be rather hesitant to promote a 3-prizer for fear of being one-shot. Eventually the Reshizard does come up to take out our Jirachi, leaving them with only 1 prize card remaining. A quick well played either felt like they missed the KO or merely decided to go down swinging as our Blastoise GX made quick work of the tag team Pokemon, hitting it for 600 damage. Game 5 sees the return of the Blacephalon player and things seem very similar in our initial setup, albeit with a stronger attacker for us in the active position. I throw down Dedenne trying to be as aggressive as possible this time, not to miss any early KOs. Unfortunately, Victini V appears on our opponent's bench, but not much else. I slow down slightly, attaching and working towards our Blastoise before swinging in. And as is the trend for our Blacephalon opponent, they did next to nothing and passed back to us, giving us the chance to boss up the Victini and KO it, peeking into his hand while we do so and seeing just how badly bricked he was. From there things played out as you would expect, with KO after KO until nothing was left on our opponent's board and we took the final victory to finally qualify. It may have taken us all 4 qualifiers, but our little water deck did it. We made it onto our store's team for the team challenge. This was the first goal I'd set out for the series, and I wasn't even sure that we'd actually reach it, but I've had a ton of fun, and getting more involved in my local scene during this pandemic has been great. That being said, we now need to set ourselves a new target to reach so that we do not lose momentum. First up is a little bit of a cop-out, but the next team challenge has already been announced, and whether it's for sealed only or not, I will definitely be playing in it. So I want to hear your opinions on if you think we should repeat the same steps and see if we can qualify for a second time with our deck. Maybe a little bit faster this time. But I do have another idea. Players Cup 4 has been given some dates, and while I have no illusions about qualifying, I am curious how many points our little deck can pull out of the bag. So please let me know in the comments down below if you think we should pursue the next team challenge or just throw a bunch of keys in the next Players Cup into our deck and see where we land. You guys let me know. There's been a long time between episodes due to scheduling of events and life, so I've played a lot with this current iteration of the deck, and I really like it, but we do still have some room to grow. I think we brick a little bit too often and are quite reliant on hitting weakness in our matchups. The next episode will be in the Battle Styles era, and with tons of fighting decks going around, I'll be curious to see how we hold up. I have some ideas on where we want to go, but with our reduced budget next episode, it might just see us revisiting some old favourites for a week or two. But until then, like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz, and most importantly, keep cracking packs.